Welcome to the Minx Muse podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Minx, creatrix of Minx Muse, a fiercely feminine playhouse that cultivates self-discovery and empowerment through classes, workshops, and events centered around esoerotic dance, transformative movement, and mystical exploration. During this podcast, I'll be having candid conversations with fiercely feminine witches, seductresses, and dark goddesses living in Austin, Texas. Welcome, Jessica of Austin Witches Circle and Yarrow and Sage to the Minx Muse podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, what are we drinking today?
We're having some bourbon.
Bourbon.
Yes.
Cheers.
Love it.
Delicious. I was excited when that was your choice today. I was like, yes. Get to have a nice little drink while we chat.
Yeah.
So, Jessica, how would you sum yourself up in one sentence or less?
I am a magical community organizer and elemental chaos witch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And for how long have you been identifying as a witch?
Probably practicing like 8 years.
Okay.
And then like more public about it for like 5.
Okay, so 8 years practicing, 5 years out of the witch's broom closet.
Yeah, and then like studying prior to that, but like where I was really like, oh, well, this is a thing that's I'm going to be doing, you know, that's part of my life, part of who I am.
Did it take you a while to actually just identify as a witch first, like when you started doing quote-unquote witchy things?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, like whenever I started organizing the markets and people ask you point blank, are you a witch?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yes. You know, like, I am, but people don't often ask that question point blank, just in general conversation. You know?
That's true, so you never really had to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you started Austin Witches Circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've always kind of wondered the backstory of that. What was the beginning? What did that look like starting that off?
Yeah, sure. So I moved to Austin about 5 years ago. And
where'd you move from?
I was briefly in Florida, but grew up in Western North Carolina.
Okay, cool.
Bounced around a little.
Yeah.
Lived in Colorado for a couple years, so.
Nice. Okay, cool.
But I've been here the longest since I moved away from where I grew up. And I moved here and started making like magical herbal products, and I was trying to sell them at like art markets and just like meeting different people, meeting makers and creatives. And I've always had like a vague idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have like a collective of people that were doing all like things together, some kind of creative like networking. But I wasn't like necessarily trying to like, oh, I'm going to build a collective now. I just had this idea. I was like, oh, I'm meeting these other people who are artists and makers, and they're like magically inclined. We should have a witches market. And so it was just like the one idea, and then I like looked around for venues. I approached Drinks Lounge first because I liked hanging out there. I liked the food truck that used to be there, Arlo's. It's not there anymore, but that's like one of the reasons that I went there. And
I didn't know Arlo's used to be there.
It did, yeah. They have their own food truck now, which is good. But they had a Ouija board like in the back of the bar. So I was like, maybe they're into it. And like, I mean, they're not into it, but it's not like their thing, but the Ouija board was there.
That just happened to be there. It was just a sign from the universe. Like,
I was like, maybe this is a magic-y place. So that was what prompted me to approach them for the first one, and it was just, we had an overwhelming response to it, you know?
You just started promoting on social media?
Yeah, I mean, just strictly Facebook. It was just, it kind of just got way more response than we could have anticipated, and then...
How long ago was this, did you say?
I think it was 4 years ago.
Okay, so like 2015?
4 years ago in like December.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015.
Okay.
I need to like nail down that date.
Yes.
I'm always
for all the future anthropologists that are looking this up, I want them to be able to know.
I feel like I'm always just guessing. I'm like 4 years. December.
Ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Mm. But we did it there. It was a big success. A couple of the vendors, you know, like jewelry artists, they made like $1,000 in one night.
Wow.
We just made a Facebook event. There's like 10 of us setting up at a bar, you know?
Yeah.
And we're like,
and the bar made money, win.
Oh, yeah. Bringing people in, like, that's one of the things. Our venues have always been, the venues that we do things at are always super supportive, super happy to have us there. It's mutual, like, reciprocity. Like, we bring people in, they give us a space to do our thing. It's awesome. But just because of the overwhelming response to it, I was like, oh, wow, there's like a niche here, you know? There's, like, people are really into this. And so I just, like, kind of threw a website up overnight and made like the Facebook group so that people could connect in that way online before like branching out into the real world.
Yes, because your online Facebook group is massive now. How many members is in it?
I think there's over 3,000, almost 3,000. I need to check.
Wow. Yeah, and I think a lot of people find that as maybe their first introduction to finding more witchy things.
Oh yeah, we get a lot of newbies. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, come to the docks.
So the idea was just to do the witches market.
Yeah, just to have the witches market, and then
it kind of became a community.
I had all these other ideas and like doing classes, workshops, other just social gatherings, Sabbath events.
Yeah, and so so this was 2015. How did it grow from there? What was that like? Because then you started going to different venues. Now it's every Sunday, right?
Yeah, we have one at different venues every Sunday. So we were at Drinks Lounge and the Vortex first, and we're still at both of those venues. And then we started doing a full moon market, which ended up, people love the full moon.
Yes, they
love
do.
The witches market. So they're like, full moon, witches market, bam. That's like been the most popular one since we started it. We started doing it at Badlands, which is a venue that doesn't exist anymore. It was at 12th and Chacon. The Rio Ritas is there now. Like, they moved from 6th Street over.
Yes, I know.
But,
exactly
we did it at Badlands, and then we did some pop-ups at Elysium, and then once we found Buzzmill as, like, the venue for the full moon market, it like, really helped because it's such a bigger outdoor space, you know, and it's been awesome there. We're excited to, like, I just checked out the new Buzzmill last night.
Where's that?
7th and Shady Lane. They like renovated. There's like a bus depot or a bus station.
No way.
So it's like way bigger.
Is it
outside? There's like so much space.
Are they moving, or are they getting another location?
No, it's just a second location.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have a location.
Already.
Yeah, are they? See, I need to get out of the studio.
It's very new. It's like less than a month.
Okay.
So their grand opening is, I think it's on Halloween.
Oh my goodness.
Perhaps. So, I don't know. I just looked at it last night. I can't remember.
Are you going to be at that location as well now? Or?
Maybe. Yeah, they've talked about possibly doing some bigger events there.
Cool. And then you go out to the Buzzmill
in San Marcos.
In San Marcos,
yeah,
right?
but I think the thing is, like, the San Marcos venue may be closing or changing hands in some way.
Okay.
So we won't be doing San Marcos anymore.
That's less traveling for you.
Yeah. But we did start doing the Spider House recently, which is awesome.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's right at the street.
Yeah, we've been there twice now, and I'm really excited about it because it's a bigger outdoor venue. It's so great. We love the places that are all ages, have coffee, tea, spirits, food trucks, everything, you know.
Yeah, that's very Austin-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all those venues feel very Austin-y, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you never really expected, was that kind of what you were doing job-wise, as you were like a creator?
Yeah, well, I was working a part-time like service industry, barista, bartending, working in a food truck when I first moved to Austin.
Yeah, that's your initiation.
All the things that you do.
Yeah.
And but then once I started organizing the markets and like doing that more full time, I realized that I was making just as much as I would at like a part-time job. So I was like investing all my time into that.
To grow, you have to if you want to grow it to that, and you're doing it every week. It's not a once a month thing, and you were still making your. So what is it that you make?
Oh, I'm an herbalist. So
You're an herbalist. Okay.
Yeah, magical, herbal, medicinal, and body products. That was a little mixed match. Magical and medicinal, herbal, body products, teas, tinctures, oil rollers,
Oh,
sprays.
wow. Okay, and what's the name of your company?
So, Sagecraft Botanicals.
Sagecraft Botanicals.
I rebranded this year. I used to be Eris Apothecary.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the goddess Eris?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Okay.
Which the people didn't know what it meant.
Oh, okay. Well.
I was like, from a marketing perspective, probably change it.
Yeah, has it been working?
Yeah.
That's good. And then, so that now you have kind of opened into, tell us about Yarrow and Sage.
Okay. So very exciting. We've been open for over a year now. We had our grand opening in October of last year. We officially opened the doors on September 19th last year. And that was a thing where once we've been doing the markets for a few years, it'd be like, oh, like everyone's like, oh, well, what about a little storefront? Like, are you in any stores? Like, maybe. No, not yet. But we could be.
Yeah.
And then being more like community cooperative minded, I really wanted it to be something a little different rather than just like a standard, like,
you own the shop,
right?
And
I'm the owner, where there's employees, where I'm like responsible for just stocking all of the inventory and everything. So I started thinking about different business models, and I was like, cooperative has to be the way that it goes, like kind of like an arts co-op. And so I was, Zucchini Kill?
Yeah, of course.
Our BFFs next door,
I
CC.
love them,
yes.
Of course.
Okay, great. So I always was hanging out at Zucchini Kill, and I was working for them part-time when they just needed somebody, like an extra shift, like once a week or so. And one day I was there it was kind of weird, honestly. It was like one day, it was like a 4th of July event, but it was raining. And I showed up, and I was supposed to be setting up outside, like my herbalism stuff for like an event. And then I was like, why am I here? There's like nobody here, like it's raining, like is this event still happening? Like, and I was just like restocking. I had some of my products for sale on the shelf inside of Zucchini Kill, so I was just like restocking there. And then the landlord who manages the property there came in and was like, hey, the back half of this building is getting empty in like a month if you know anybody. And I was just like, yes.
Well, see, the universe brought you that. That's why you were there.
Yeah, that's what I think.
What did it used to be?
Like, yes. Where we were at, inside of that building, it was called Stacks. It was like a 90s vintage store, and they actually just moved to a bigger location for themselves.
Oh, that's such good energy then. It wasn't like...
Okay. They didn't like quit or drop out or get kicked out or anything. They just found a better space.
They grew so large that they needed to expand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that location is so dreamy because you have the Zucchini Kill next door, and then you also have the food trucks right behind there, and it's a cute little neighborhood. It's like super, super dreamy. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So how does the co-op work?
So that was one of the things is one of my other friends, Ashley, was living in North Carolina, in Asheville, which is like an hour outside of where I grew up.
Okay.
So, like last summer, not this past summer, but a year ago summer, it all happened really pretty fast. It was like July, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna...
Yeah, it was July 4th.
Yeah,
and then you opened in like September.
Yeah.
Oh!
People tell me that it's like crazy that it was, and I was like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. It just sort of happened.
Yeah, once you start paying rent, you're like, that bitch is opening because I'm paying rent on this, so we're next to go.
But she was in town visiting and like wanted to a ride back to North Carolina, and I was like, okay, I haven't visited like my hometown in a while, so I drove her back and we checked out. She was in an arts co-op there. And so I went there, saw that space, like learned a bit about how it functions, and then kind of took what I learned and came back and applied that, like changed it, like suited to our needs, and changed it. I came up with like an initial format that I then approached my friends with. I was like, okay, so we're gonna have it like this. There's like different types of membership. There's the curators, and there's like retail membership, and then there's reader membership. So because we have the little trailer out,
or I was gonna ask if that was still there.
Trailer. Yeah, that's still there.
That was a smart addition.
It's so cute. Well, we were gonna do it inside, and then our landlord, honestly, is so nice. He just offered it up to us. He had this cute trailer, and he's like, yeah, you can paint it, and we like redid the inside and everything. So.
You tell me if he has any other buildings available, because it would be nice to have a cool landlord like that.
Yeah, no, he's been really, really supportive and awesome.
That's
the
so
whole time.
And it's so great that he has an awesome businesses operating at it. It's like,
Yeah.
That worked out.
I think he really loves having a space for artists like that.
Yeah. So that's cool. So basically, you're not the owner of your own stage, right? It's like there's multiple owners, or are you kind of like...
Legally speaking, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But that's not how it functions. It was just, we realized like the easiest way, because we thought about, like we did all the research and like, okay, well if we're actually like an arts nonprofit, like what's that like? And apparently it costs a lot of money to not make any profit.
Yeah. Or people would just all say that they're not profit, so.
Right, yeah. So we're a sole proprietor LLC that functions as an arts co-op. So.
Oh.
Interesting. Okay, gotcha.
And we like got involved with this it's like TALA, Texas Accountants and Lawyers for the Arts. So it was like advised legally on what to do, and then like advised on like accounting on what to do. It was like an affordable thing for us to have access to.
Yeah.
I like got a membership for that for a year. Answered some initial questions that we had. It's like, how do we do this?
Right? Well, it seems like you figured it out. And so now it's like everyone is responsible for working the shop certain days of the week.
Yeah. It's pretty chill, pretty efficient. I do consider myself almost like an efficiency expert. I'm like, we got to do this the best way we can.
That's a
the
good
least
quality.
amount of effort, the most organized way we can do it. So we started out. I initially approached two good friends, very talented people, Christy Lewis and Kayla Garland, who do Foxtrot Boutique, silversmithing, and Sovereign Apparel, respectively. So we all had something to do. I was like, so we call ourselves an apothecary and arts co-op. So there's me like doing herbalism, and then they're like jewelry and clothing design. And so I approached them first, and I was like, I think that we all have like the same head about this, and like we could get this started, and we would be like, there's like a curator position, which is what we were doing initially. And then we have like standard retail membership. So like curators are working more, handling like the management behind the scenes, like having our stuff in the store, and the retail positions are paying membership fees and working 1 shift a month. And like originally curators were, so we weren't paying membership fees, but we're working like 4 times a month.
Okay.
So we're just like developing different structures. It's all based on like membership fees and work exchange.
Yeah, and you got to play with different things to see what works out.
Yeah, since we learned a lot in the last year.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we instituted like a kind of intermediary position, like the lead retail, so people who are working a little more, taking care of like other responsibilities. And then Kayla and Christy are so busy, they have since like reduced their involvement, like responsibility load, and they're still very much a part of it. But we have my original. It's kind of funny. It came full circle. Like my original like trip to Asheville, the arts co-op. My friend Ashley ended up moving back.
No way.
Yeah, and she's like a potter and wire wrapping, doing like raw crystal work, like very minimalist, like great style, like showcasing the crystals. And so she moved back and joined, and then after like we do like quarterly memberships. After a couple of quarters, she was like, you know what, I want to step up. I want to help you with this. And so she just started being a curator at the store.
Cool.
This past month too.
So that means she can have more of her items in the store, and
it's not necessarily like more. It's just like different responsibilities. So like the retail members are going to be working like 1 shift a month and paying $80 a month.
Yeah.
And then like the lead retail work 2 shifts a month and have like additional responsibilities and don't pay membership fees. And then the curator position is you're working like 4 times a month, like usually on the day that we're closed. Like doing behind the scenes stuff,
and
like
organizing,
cleaning, managing, scheduling. There's a lot of details.
Yeah,
running you never anticipated whenever you start things out. You know,
yeah.
Just like installing all the lights and things that have to be like new, like adjustments, improvements, additions. Managing budgeting, managing scheduling, managing payouts for the things, because the members do. We pay membership fees and work, but 100% of sales go back to each artist.
That's great. 100%.
Yeah, so we don't do percentages. It's just like you pay $80 and that's how much you pay. You work 1 shift, that's how much you work, and then all your sales are yours.
Wow, so, that seems very worth it.
Yeah, no, it's been very worth it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We have some of our core members. We started out with about 10 people, and we still have many of them after a year.
How many different like artisans and crafters and makers are now represented in the shop?
Okay, so we have like 24 members now.
Okay,
including readers.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a different structure because we consider the reader membership as sort of like a space rental.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because we have the trailer and they're there, and sure, they receive like promotional opportunities from being involved with us. Like we promote on the website, we have the schedule set up, like people advertise on Instagram every day, like who's reading that day. But mostly we focus on people who are already have a clientele. They're like
looking for a place to meet.
Yeah, they're looking for a place to meet up.
Don't want to meet like in their house.
Right. Or just like in a coffee shop or something.
Yeah.
Like a private place where you're around like good energy.
Yeah, this seems like a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Wow. So what is just an interesting story of like what you've achieved over 5 years?
It's really, I realize that it's kind of weird. It's unique. Like, people are like, how does it work?
But
it just does.
And it's also just you like doing it how you want to and not having an exact model to replicate, but you're like, this is what I want, and this is like my vision, and these are the people who I want to do it with.
Mm-hmm.
And you can totally like, especially if you're good at efficiencies and community building, you can definitely create something like that.
Yeah, it's been awesome so far.
Yeah, super dreamy. Anything? Well, actually, that's a question we'll ask later. But is there anything like growth wise that's happening right now that you want to share between like the Austin Witches Circle or the Yarrow and Sage or anything?
I don't know.
Or is it just kind of like things are going well?
Things are going well. I love that we have Spider House now as like another bigger outdoor venue.
So that just goes in the Sunday cycle. Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing Drinks Lounge, Spider House, the Buzzmill, and the Vortex.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's our Sunday weekly markets, and the shop is going well. I think that after a year of learning and growing and making improvements and making adjustments, that I'm really ready, and everyone else is glad for it just to be like stable for a while. Like, this is how it works now. Let it work for a little while.
Yes, that takes a while to get there and figure out the systems and all of that. So that was the first year of business. It's probably the hardest. Yeah, if you can make it past that first year, you're good.
Now we just focus on getting like signage, like better signs,
little things,
just like all that stuff, like signs and advertising.
What days of the week are you
landscaping?
That's pain in the ass.
We're open Wednesday through Sunday.
Okay.
So Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 8, and then Sunday, 10 to 6.
Cool. So, and it's good that holiday season is coming up. Get your gifts locally. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so your whole world revolves around being a witch. Pretty much.
It has come to that.
Which
you
is
literally
cool.
can't have like small talk baseline conversation with me without all of it coming out. It's like, oh, what do you do? Well.
What's it mean to you to be a witch?
So first off, what drew me to all of this like magical practice, witchcraft, herbalism, is self-healing and self-awareness. So what it really means to me is using these tools that you can perceive as psychological or spiritual in order to change my consciousness and the way that I live in the world and the way that I like take control of my life and develop autonomy and personal freedom, personal strength.
Wow. And you said you're an elemental chaos witch.
Elements, I had to if I had to describe it, it'd be that. I do think in terms of elemental energies a lot.
Okay.
Because it's very fundamental, it's very primal. Earth, water, fire, air. You can put so much with that. And there's a lot in healing and Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, like the dualistic principles, active, passive. You have like earth and water. People often break them down into genders, but often that can't be, that's not always helpful,
Yeah.
Because those energies exist within everyone and everything, regardless of gender. So I try not to genderize elementals or duality in that way. But it is very, very common. Like, you're going to run into that,
Mm-hmm, for sure.
So, sorry, lost track.
No, and so that's the elemental part.
The elemental part,
now,
yes. Earth, water being, like, more passive, fire, air being active.
And then it's a lot of the witches that come here identify as chaos witches, but for those who don't know, that's
I love that.
And so for those who are like chaos witch, go on.
So that is witchcraft, which incorporates chaos magic, the philosophies of chaos magic. It's so dear to me.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like chaos wreaking havoc, not at all. It's more about so I feel like I have to concisely explain chaos magic to people a lot, and it's just not that easy. So, main tenet, belief is a tool. Your ability to believe in anything is what makes it useful, is what makes it powerful. So belief is a tool, and then nothing is true, everything is permitted. These are kind of philosophies to approach magical practice, and they've been very helpful for me in my practice.
Yeah. And so chaos witches don't really subscribe to like a certain religion, right? So it's not like so chaos witches kind of perform their own rituals in their own manner of what works for them, as opposed to say like something like Wiccan, which may have a more united like framework to their belief system. So that's another thing that I think draws a lot of people in, because they feel like they have autonomy over their spell casting, and which is great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. In Wicca Wicca is like kind of, I think of it as like the official religion of witchcraft. So you do have specific beliefs that everyone who is Wicca is going to ascribe to, you know? And in chaos magic, it's like, I can have Wiccan beliefs if I want to, or I can have other beliefs, you know? I really appreciate that in chaos magic, and just in general, like what I've learned from chaos magic is that if a belief that you have isn't functioning for you, then you just find something else to believe in.
That's cool, right? It's almost like the opposite of religion, right?
Yeah. It's like your beliefs are not concrete.
Yeah, and makes you go deeper, I think, into your work as well. And it's like you mentioned in the beginning that you had an interest in like psychology, and I think it's definitely intertwined.
One of the things that I've learned through chaos magic is like the 5 models of magic.
Okay, go on.
There's let's see, the spirit model, the energy model, the psychological model, and then the information model. The 5th model is the meta model. So the 5th model is saying that being able to ascribe to the previous 4 models and switch between them, interchange them as suits your needs, as is necessary. So the spirit model states that magic works through the function of spirits, and then the energy model states that magic works through the function of different energies, and then psychological model states that magic works through like psychological means. It's like sigils are an example of psychological model magic, you know, like taking something, distilling it into a symbol that your subconscious mind recognizes, but in the chaos magic approach to sigils is that you forget what you made the sigil for, but it activates the subconscious, and that's like an example of how the psychological model works. And the information model is apparently like the most vague, but more like recently, like one of the oldest but more recently understood models, in that everything is sort of like information matrices. Like in the ether, and I don't know. Okay,
I think I see what you're saying. So I get the
harder to explain.
Yeah, but no, I think that actually makes sense. That it's all structural and it actually all exists, and it's almost like a more logical way of like accessing it. Okay, gotcha.
But once I come from that perspective of being able to hold different or varying or even conflicting belief systems at once, it's just like when people are talking about their beliefs, it's like, oh, okay, like you see it that way. And then like I don't necessarily think that, like one of the things like nothing is true, everything is permitted. To me, that means that there is like no objective reality, like there's no objective truth, but everyone through their experience, through their perception is having like a different experience, and they're using these models to explain them to others.
I love that. I think that because some people I notice they get into disagreements over, I'm like, you're arguing the same point, you just have a completely different like human perception of what it is, based on probably just like how you were raised, and maybe just who you are inherently as a person, and nurture and nature and all of that stuff is gonna, absolutely. But we're all saying the same thing so many times, you know? So yeah, we'll have to do a chaos witch night or something here would be really awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, of course.
It's always interesting to see how people, what kind of practices people have as witches, and also just how people identify as a witch and what that means to them, because it means different. Are you of the mindset that like being a witch is just almost like, I remember when I was in art school, it was like art is its intention. So if the intention is art, then it is art. Whether that's good art, bad art, whatever, that's in the eye of the beholder, but it's like the intention, okay, I intend this to be art, so it is art. And I always kind of think that with witchcraft too, and it's like, do you intend this to be magic?
Right.
Then that's magic, and it is to you, and that's whether it's a good spell or a bad spell or anything like that. It is like, if that's what it means to you, then that's what it is. And to me, like, kind of almost feel like being a witch. Like, I don't know, do you feel like a witch? Or do you like to like own your magic and own your power? And if that something relates to you, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone has the capacity to live a magical life. Yeah. And I think that people who identify with like witch as an archetype or as a label are just following this path of like owning that in a specific way, you know?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to look the same for everyone.
No, not at all. I think that people like that like rebellious archetype of witchcraft is it does appeal to the feminist, like, fuck you, patriarchy, what I want, sensibility.
Yeah. Oh, you hung us. Now we are the granddaughters and the witches you burn or whatever. Yeah. So that kind of idea. Yeah. It's just kind of badass. Totally. Yeah. I try to explain that to people too. Like, I don't know, there's power in the taboo archetype of it, where it's kind of a little, but there's power in that, because it makes people think, and it makes people pay attention, as opposed to perhaps if you're not really going against any type of backlash. So when you're just going with the flow, you're not really making much change. So yeah, super cool.
You're not doing anything right if you're not pissing people off.
Yeah, I think I've said it on this podcast before. One of my favorite quotes: if you're not offending someone, you're boring everyone.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And so it's so great. Like, I feel like you, having only been here for 5 years, has really helped nurture the witches community here.
That's amazing. I still don't even know, like you're talking about intention, and it's not like I sat down one day and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do, you know? Yeah. It all just really did fall into place.
It was very genuine to you, so you didn't even have to really like go deep into it and declare anything, which is awesome, because it was just your natural path.
I think it just hit the mark, like, right as if like the trend of witchcraft was increasing, and then like people awareness was growing, and it just like kind of snowballed.
Yeah. Have you found that the witchcraft community here has been like receptive, open to your work, or have you got to meet a lot of people? Like, what's the witchcraft community like here?
Yeah. Honestly, so one of the things, there is like a vast like pre-existing pagan community here. I think that, again, like that archetype of the witch though, and witchcraft, and labeling it as such, really brought a lot more people into the fold than would have otherwise, because people maybe like, oh, witchcraft, like I've heard of that, or like I'm like, oh, like crystals and things, like maybe they're sort of dipping their toes in, whereas like full-blown paganism is like, oh, well, those are like religions, and they're like, that's so foreign to me, and like really different from anything I've been exposed to. So I think that the label of witchcraft has sort of opened the doors for many people to explore deeper paths in paganism. But
I like that, without having to go like be initiated into some type of like coven practice. So you can experience it first without having to decide if it's
and learn from peers, from people who have been doing it for a while longer than you. Like, especially in the Facebook group, we get so many people asking so many questions, and everyone's like so willing to help out and answer and like just learn from each other.
That's so cool. So you found it to be pretty inviting and
absolutely.
And supportive.
Sometimes I think about like all the different people I've met because I've been doing the markets, and all the different,
I can imagine,
different practices that I've been exposed to that I wouldn't have otherwise been, and it's just really fascinating.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for all that you've done. It's super cool.
Happy to be contributing.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into the second part of our interview. So these are kind of the more standard questions that I ask all of our guests. So the first one is, what is your personal mantra?
Personal mantra. I do have to borrow from Chaos Magic. And like one thing that I always keep in the back of my mind is nothing is true.
Nothing is true. I like that. It's because I like it. We could have a whole podcast on that.
Right. you just have to think, like, I do believe that, I mean, whenever people start to believe that they have found some kind of objective truth or reality, that some things get dicey, you know? It's like, you know, you have to make room for uncertainty. You have to make room for conflicting and coexisting belief systems.
Yeah, that's why polarity
even within
exists.
yourself, you know.
Yeah, oh, totally. So I like that. Good one. So what is, a little lighter, what is your favorite sensuous indulgence?
Sensuous indulgence.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say my boyfriend.
Nice, there we go.
I'm like, is a whole person allowed as a sensuous indulgence?
It's never been done before, but I think it's great. Yeah.
So we don't get to see each other as often because he lives in San Antonio.
Okay.
So, but I'm thinking elementally, like, I tend to be very airy, like, in my mind, planning, organizing.
What's your sign?
I'm a Libra.
Okay.
Moon in Gemini.
So, what's your rising?
Capricorn.
Okay.
So you see that, like, maybe I appear to be grounded in my external activities, but that definitely contributes to, like, the work and the organization and, like, discipline.
But you have 2 airs.
But it's, like, always in my head. So, and he has, like, 5 planets in Capricorn, but or something like that. So we have that connection and, like, Capricorn rising, so we relate in that way. But he's much more, like, earthy and tactile, really. So I feel like when we're together, and he helps me really ground into my body.
I love that. Oh.
But then as a Libra, I'm thinking, like, sensuous indulgence. I'm like, well, like, good food and nice smells, like, those aren't really indulgences, those are necessities.
Those are a given.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it. So,
it's just my sensuous life.
Kind of.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think your boyfriend's an amazing one. And
because it is an indulgence, because I don't have that all the time, you know?
Yeah, especially if it's long distance.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, what a lucky guy. And so what is something that you are currently manifesting that you feel open to sharing with us?
Manifesting. I do tend to keep current manifestations on a need-to-know basis.
Okay.
But, I mean, in general...
Maybe a thing little. You don't have to share it all, but if there's something pretty innocuous that it's like, oh.
I mean, always manifesting prosperity. Always manifesting, like, balance. Trying to achieve balance within myself.
Yeah.
Always trying to figure that out with herbs and practices. Again, with, like, elemental balancing. That's, like, fundamental to many healing practices, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. Been really into Ayurveda for the last, like, year and a half. So thinking in terms of that, like, always manifesting, like, the balance within my own self and the own energies that I have. Tend to be fiery, like, I have, like, that in Ayurveda, it's Pitta, Pitta dosha. So, like, trying to bring in, like, soothing, watery elements. That's something I'm always working on. Drinking bourbon is the opposite of that.
I'm just contributing to your Pitta, not
like, that's
it,
the thing, is people are drawn to, like, what they already are. And, like, whiskey is, like, one of the, it's fire in a glass, right?
Yeah. So. You're being true to yourself. And maybe this is your sensuous indulgence today.
Yeah, I would have to say that as well.
What's like, yeah, we're adding it to the list. What is, as an herbalist, what's a good grounding herb for maybe if people are trying to get some grounding and more that energy in their life as well? Rooted herbs,
anything that was, like, the part that you use was inside of the earth is, like, a great starting point. Thinking, like, dandelion root. For scents, like, patchouli.
Okay, cool.
It's, like, very earthy, grounding. I make an elemental earth oil that's got patchouli and vetiver with basil and cypress.
Ooh. I smell that one. I'd like that. All right. And so, last question. What is one thing in Austin that we should all check out?
The Witches Market.
Witches Markets.
The Witches Markets in Yarrow and Sage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do think, I encourage everyone to go to the Witches Markets if you haven't yet. First of all, you can support local businesses, which is awesome.
We do only really focus on artists or vendors who are doing handmade arts.
Yeah. which is really cool. So it's good to be able to support, because sometimes we say, oh, we want to support local artisans, but we don't really know how to do that.
Yeah.
And
collect them all in one place.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always at a cool spot, so you can get a coffee or a drink and some usually some good food and hang out. And so it can be like a good social situation. You can usually get a reading there too.
Oh yeah, if you need any spiritual advice.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's kind of like a great night, honestly.
It is.
Get a drink, get dinner, buy yourself something magical, get some kind of spiritual advice.
Maybe meet some new like-minded people. Because sometimes we are so online that it is nice, and that's why I love that that you are like a physical market where it's like, because sometimes we can just live behind our screens, and it's no, come out and meet like other like-minded people face to face and start a conversation with someone.
I do think that the market environment is conducive to that, because it's laid back, it's low key, like there's no pressure.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anyone else there, like meeting other patrons, then the vendors are always willing to talk, you know?
Yeah, totally.
You can always get to know like anywhere from like 1 or 2 dozen vendors who are set up at any given market.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on today. I'll give you one last cheers. Cheers, my dear. First person to have whiskey as their drink request. Well, and I knew I would like her right away. I knew we would get along.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from you today, and I think it's so great to be able to, for people to meet you, because I know that you've probably have helped more people than you are even aware of. Just discover like a magical side of themselves and kind of enter into a new almost like a new like manifestation of their life. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nice. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. You so much. Yeah, bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Minx Muse podcast. You can find show notes and learn more about the studio at www.minxandmuse.com. Go get your life, boo, and we'll see you again soon.